Hey everyone, Eric here, up with the next segment of small stacks. And what I wanted to walk through is how I'm building my watch list and then what positions I'm looking at for my initial outlay. Now, what I want to say up front is if there's anything that you all would add to the watch list, feel free, let me know. I'm happy to put anything in here. It has been a while, admittedly, where I've been constrained by price. So it is a good skill set to refresh. There are definitely a lot of trade-offs that need to be made, but I still am pretty comfortable with some of the products that I dug up. So let's get right to it. So first off, for the watch list development, these are a few things that I'm keeping an eye on. I definitely would prefer items within the S&P 500, prefer weeklies. Notice the word prefer is I stopped writing it, but it's essentially for all of these. Whereas when I trade my normal account and price doesn't really matter that much, these become hard and fast. I won't trade something that if I'm trading, let's say, the covered strangle, I won't trade something that doesn't have at least a 2% yield. Whereas there's a lot of sacrifice that needs to be made in smaller accounts, and it's just how it goes. So that's why you see the word prefer so much. Same thing with weeklies. If it doesn't have weeklies in my normal account, I don't touch it. Whereas there's one of my trades I'm looking at doesn't have weeklies. It's just a function of having to make trade offs in smaller accounts. So these are a couple things that I'm looking at. And then I also have my general fundamental technical analysis. I already have videos on those. So I didn't go through listing them all out, but just wanted to share a few of the first items that I'm looking at. And then we'll go from there. So the next thing I want to highlight is part of my approach for the smaller account is going to be a hybrid of the sector rotation strategy, meaning I want to take a look at the 3 month and 30-day performance of the sectors and kind of pick things that are in the top 4 or 5, again, in general. This isn't to say that I won't pick something that's further down, provided that it's been performing well over the previous 3 months, 30 days. So I'm kind of cross referencing them and, like I said, performing a bit of a hybrid here. So here's the watch list as it sits. This is the first pass. Like I said, I'm not kind of building this out super far just yet. I'm generally focusing on things that are $60 and less. While the account is starting just at 5, I kept it at 50 or less. My goal is to be able to maintain at least 2 positions. I do not want to have all of the account in one ticker. So that leads me to the lower end of this spectrum. And these ones are kind of I don't know. My initial thought was calling these out because I probably will try to focus on them. But as I was going through a little bit of my fundamental analysis, it didn't turn out to be so much the case. So you could essentially ignore the handful of bullets I have there. Okay, and let's talk about the initial outlay. These are the two trades I'm looking at. I'm looking at Mosaic selling one 25 September 17 put, collecting 53 cents. And then in DXC, I'm looking at selling one 18 September 18 put, collecting 55 cents. So this is, again, preliminary. I did not dig in too far just yet to make sure that everything checks out. However, on my initial pass, both of these look to be okay. Now, of note, I really don't like trading Mosaic up here. So there's a good chance I will wait to establish this trade as compared to putting it on at the same time as DXC. And the reason why I picked these two is, I guess, a couple pieces. The first one is I definitely want some IT exposure, which is what DXC satisfies for me. And then Mosaic, I like because if we pull up their fundamentals from a one materials perspective, I don't feel super passionate about that per se. But when I look at something that's been fairly stable after the drop, I definitely think Mosaic is there. So that's how this one ended up on the list. So what I'm gonna do is probably establish DXC tomorrow, and then I'm going to wait on Mosaic, and I'm gonna wait and see how they react to recent price levels, and then go from there. There's a solid chance that I will deviate and go somewhere else, but again, we'll see what the market shows me. Right now, if we look at both of these trades, they come out to be a 31% return on invested capital, which is a great return. And on the entire portfolio, it would be a 2.6% return on capital using realistically a pretty small subset. If we add these up, it comes out to 70% or so. And the reason why I call it a quote unquote small subset is to have two positions on in a 5K account while cash securing is tough. So that's what I meant by that. But we're still, like I said, 70% invested, which it's a good return for that level of investment. So we'll take a look at what tomorrow shows us, and then I will share an update once we get the trades on. All right, talk to y'all later.